We'd love to share whatever we have with as many people as we can.
My goal in life is to try to help as many people as God lets me. I'm with love, and I hope so, and I will, with God's willing, of course, to continue my father's footsteps in any way I could. My father is my role model. The only way that I see myself having success in life is if I go my father's way.
With everyone's permission, I would like to attempt to share a few ideas. As is perhaps well known, this is the week of the culmination of the 10 plagues that the Egyptians suffered. There are 7 plagues mentioned in last week's section of Vayera and 3 in Parshat Bo. The mnemonic to remember it is that the numerical value of the word Bo is 3. There are three makot in Parshat Bo. There's a serious question is how we are supposed to relate to the makot of the Egyptians. What is the proper religious perspective when studying about the downfall of the Egyptians? Unquestionably, the people that are punished in the story in the book of Shmo are very, very wicked people. The people who destroyed our nation, who murdered our babies, who tortured each and every member of the group of people who were enslaved in Egypt. What is our attitude towards the punishment of the Egyptians from a Torah perspective? In our sources, we find almost a dichotomy. Because in the book of Tehillim, Yismach Tzaddik ki chazan hakam. There's an element of joy, there's an element of celebration. There's a God in the world. It din, it dayan. You just can't get away with doing whatever you want.
Rashi says, like, when they were turned in the ocean with the mud and everything, like he says that was what they did to the Yudim. So like, it's already mida keneged mida.
So what would you recommend, according to this approach, when we read Parshat Bo, when we read about Makat Arbeh, Makat Hoshech, Makat Bechorot, or all of the other, well, that's what they deserve. However, a careful reading of the sources, in my opinion, indicates that it's much more complicated than that. That even though we are speaking about the downfall of the wicked, there's an element in our tradition which feels that we are supposed to be saddened. Even though we have a concept of Ba'avod, Rishaim, Rinah, that there is a celebration at the destruction of the wicked, nevertheless, if one studies, surely in Midrashic literature, some of the notions about Pesach, for instance, Pesach, which is the holidays celebrating the sections that we're studying this week, last week, next week, there are certain phenomena connected to Pesach which are unusual. For instance, nowhere in the Torah does it say explicitly, you shall celebrate joyously on Pesach. In early literature, they ask, why does it not say by Pesach anywhere? The Torah mentions Pesach several times. Why does it say B'samachta? One of the answers that's given is, there's a side of us that can't fully rejoice on Pesach. We love the fact, we celebrate the fact, we're elated by the fact that we left Egypt. But what's missing? Why can't we reach the full level of simcha? What's missing? The downfall of the Egyptians. Isn't it tragic that the Egyptians had to be destroyed? Wouldn't it have been such a beautiful world if even the wicked people, or there would have been no wicked people, the wicked people would have turned back to God, and there would have been no need for the destruction? What do we do when we read the 10 plagues? What? You pour wine out of the cup. And it seems, according to at least one school of thought, that we're pouring off the wine. What does wine represent? Celebration. Yain yisamah levav enosh. Wine is a source of celebration. Oh, we're so happy! Wow, tonight is Pesach. We left Mitzrayim. In the Talmud, this is not the reason. The Gemara discusses Why the difference between the holiday of Sukkot and the holiday of Pesach? Every day of Sukkot, we say the entire Hallel. On Shavuot, Hallel Shalem. On Pesach, on the first day we recite Hallel Shalem. And the rest of the week, we just have a symbolic, partial Hallel. It's called Hatzi Hallel. It's the holiday of Pesach. Why don't we celebrate? Hallel, that's the way we celebrate all holidays. The seventh day of Pesach represents for us the salvation of crossing the sea, but the seventh day of Pesach represents the day that the Egyptians drowned. So can it be that the Jewish heart, the sensitive Jewish heart, has both of these feelings deeply embedded in the inner recesses of their being? And perhaps that's the meaning, the true meaning of the teaching in the Gemara, in the Masechet Berachot, Tractate Berachot. There's a discussion about the need to institute a blessing for the destruction of the wicked. Rabban Gamliel, the great leader, asks, is there anyone around who can do this? Anyone who knows how to institute such a blessing? Amad Shmuel Hakatan V'tikna. There was one person. Shmuel Hakatan. What does Katan mean? Maybe, small. What is small? Maybe humble. Shmuel Hakatan was the one that established this blessing. First question, is it so complicated to establish a blessing for the destruction of the wicked? May all the wicked be destroyed. I mean, what's so complicated? Complicated blessing? Complicated blessing? Only Shmuel Hakatan can discuss it. And it's fascinating that there's only one teaching in the entire Shas, as far as I know. Only one teaching in the entire Mishnah in the name of Shmuel HaKatan. And what's the teaching?
Don't rejoice with the
It's a teaching. It's a teaching in the ethics of the fathers. And amazingly, it's amazing. The Shmuel HaKatan in the 4th chapter of the ethics of the fathers teaches, Shmuel HaKatan Omer, B'nefol o yivcha al tismach. When your enemy falls, don't rejoice. Uvikashalo al yagel libecha. When your enemy stumbles, don't feel joy in your heart. Pen yireh Hashem v'ra be'einav. Lest God will see this and it will be wrong in the eyes of God. So Shmuel HaKatan is the one who teaches us not to rejoice. And Shmuel HaKatan is then the one who is eligible to teach us the blessing for the destruction of the evil. In the Talmud, we read about great women who said that the highest level to pray is not to pray for the destruction of Risha'im, but rather for the destruction of the Resha. Not for the Chote'im, but for the Chata'im. Not for the destruction of wicked people, but rather for the destruction of wickedness. And perhaps that's what Shmuel HaKatan was teaching. An aspect of seeing the divine judgment and an aspect of sadness that these people were punished and didn't live the kind of life that could have led them to the highest level of reward. Our ultimate prayer is not that the wicked should be destroyed. The ultimate level of prayer is that all of the wicked in the world should recognize Hashem. Even in the sections of study that we're talking about in Mitzrayim, V'yad'u Mitzrayim ki ani Hashem. The ultimate level that they should recognize God as well. And I hope as we study this week, Parshat Bo, as we read about the plagues in Egypt, may there be no need for any future plagues anywhere. May there be no need for any future punishment. May all of those people who are temporarily in a state of the opposite of righteousness turn to righteous just in the merit of the study of Parshat Bo. And may we be able to celebrate way before Shabbat the ultimate level of Mashiach. Thank you so much for it.
It's not a show. He doesn't come here and put on the suit for 4 hours, rip it off, and let the whole world. No, he comes, he does the meal, and right after the meal, he still has people talking to him. And Saturday night comes, he's dead tired. He still has people calling him. And if it's going to courts to bail out druggies, homeless people in the street and talking to them, if it's going to pick up a bite of food for some guy that doesn't have something to eat, it's a constant thing until he goes to sleep at night, until he wakes up in the morning. I grew up with seeing guests, and I opened my eyes to see 100 people every Friday night, every Saturday. And I didn't feel that it took away from my life or my siblings. It just added more light, enthusiasm. When we see such people, we get to learn about life a lot. We feel it's God's present to have a house, and we appreciate every single guest that comes. My mother already lost lost her privacy the day after she got married. She said, I want guests. I want to have people over. I don't need my furniture. A couple of days after she got married, I don't know, a couple of weeks, they came to Israel. Some homeless guy robbed all her jewelry. She didn't turn off. She didn't turn off from that. She said, no, I don't care. I want to invite these people again because jewelry is not important. Chesed, kindness, hospitality is important. And that's why I want to continue this. I want to make God happy. And that's what she always says. And that's what us, our kids, got.